would have to be something really big to generate this kind of magnetic field.
Can you get a visual on the AMS?
Yeah, Renee's looking now. Yeah, Capcom. Renee thinks he saw something.
ISS, what was that? ISS, do you copy?
Welcome back everyone to the channel. My name is Garrett. This is my third annual Halloween special. It's the first one under the Grizzly Reviews name. This is a movie I have been really excited to talk about for a long time. Today we are covering 10 Cloverfield Lane. For last year's Halloween special, I covered Cloverfield, the 2008 found footage alien horror movie. But while I love Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane is on a whole nother level against it. Now I'm sure someone's gonna be like, Garrett, 10 Cloverfield Lane isn't a horror movie. And I'll reply back, well, it's a thriller that has some pretty spooky parts and the ending is pretty wild, so I'm gonna count it as a horror movie. You're welcome. It's just what I want to cover. It gives you that tense vibes that are fantastic. But to do this review, I have to include spoilers. So this whole video will be spoiler filled. I will ruin this movie for you. If you have not seen this movie, go in to the film knowing nothing. You will be shocked, surprised. It's gonna be one of the best film experiences you've had in a good while. It's so satisfying to watch. Go watch it and then come back and watch this video if you don't want to be spoiled. To start out with though, we are going to talk about the 10 Cloverfield Lane ARG. In the Cloverfield video, I mentioned that Cloverfield itself had an ARG. That was pretty great. The MySpace pages, all the videos made for it, the new stuff, the websites. What 10 Cloverfield Lane does, well, it's pretty fantastic. The ARG does the work to set up Howard's character and his lost connection with Megan, who now lives in Chicago because her parents got a divorce, so she went with her mom up to Chicago, and things you learn about during the ARG. This ARG is so expansive. There's tons of clues going on and real world locations that have to be visited. And it helps a local Louisiana soda business, which is just awesome. Upon ordering from the company Swamp Pop, you would receive pieces of a puzzle in your order that you got, and when all put together, it would make an Eiffel Tower image. There's a lot of Eiffel Tower stuff going on with this ARG and the character of Megan. I think Howard saw her mention the Eiffel Tower a couple times and then just force this obsession. He's a very obsessive person, so really him figuring out one thing to focus on is very much his character. Another part of the ARG, if you followed a trail of online clues, you would be directed to an online messaging board system that Howard uses to try to talk to Megan. And that would eventually lead someone to a backpack found in Chicago with a bunch of treasures inside. A set of 5 trailers were released for this movie at the same time. And if you took a secret image that was shown up for a couple frames during the trailer, you got the numbers from that, put them in alphabetical order. It gave you coordinates to go to a place 50 miles outside of New Orleans, and an ammunition box would be found with really cryptic voice messages on some USB drives. I used that audio at the beginning of this video just so you know what that was. But my experience with this ARG was secondhand, third hand, depending on however you want to go to it, how many hands it passed at this point. During a trip to Tennessee, I listened through all of Cloverfield's. This was in the lead up before the movie came out. I had a little bit of time before that movie came out, so I binged through the whole podcast. I didn't see the movie for a couple more years after that, but the podcast with Steve Zaragoza and Mike Falzone was so engaging, so funny, so much fun to listen to. I was instantly dragged in. The story of the ARG was so much fun to hear from their perspectives. Steve tell Mike what was going on, and then Mike react to it. Because Mike is dyslexic and can't read, not to call someone out, but that's the truth. Edit point. And yes, for those who have to ask, this video is considered in-game. I can't believe you would have to think about that. Like, obviously it's in-game. But that's really the ARG in a total TLDR situation. I can't go into extreme detail with this because it will take way too long. So I'm gonna leave a link in the description to an amazing video I found while researching this review that just blew my mind how much they packed into 20 minutes of this ARG, how funny this person is. It's a really, really good video. Highly recommend. Check it out in my description. Waking up from a car accident, a young woman finds herself in the basement of a man who says he saved her life from a chemical attack that has left the outside uninhabitable. That is IMDb's summary of this movie. It does a pretty good job telling you what this movie is. I will say though, as it's a thriller, there's so many things going on in this movie. Absolutely every single scene, line, action, both by the camera and the characters, choices that those characters make is fucking perfect. Nothing is wasted or feels like it's filler in this movie. Every single scene has a point to it. Every choice is the correct choice. And that's what makes Dan Trachtenberg movies so much fun. You're rooting for this character. You care so much about Michelle, who's played by Mary Elizabeth Winestead, and you don't know that much about her. The movie is really selective in how much information each character gives. Not that knowing their character backgrounds is extremely important at the current time, because based on what Howard has told us, there's an apocalypse going on, so we don't know if the world is actually good to live in or not. Michelle is a perfect protagonist. She's very easy to root for because she's smart, takes risks, but they're calculated. She makes very calculated choices, and they all are the right thing. There's a really interesting moment at the beginning of this movie where she has her sharpened wooden crutch that she has, and she's waiting for Howard to come in, but she doesn't know how long it's gonna take. So she decides to burn stuff, set it into the air vent that has to force him to come in, and then she would attack him there. And the thinking process of this character, because you're watching this, experiencing this in real time with her, you're thinking these things too. And you're like, yes, girl, yes, do that. That is the correct choice. You are making smart decisions. I love that. To continue on about these characters' past and not them really being important, the movie decides that where these characters end up is more important than where they were. Due to Ben over the phone, voiced by Bradley Cooper, if you didn't know, we find out she's normally used to running away from situations when they get too much for her. She's very much drop everything in her life and just leave. She also gives a story about how she saw this father being abusive to a daughter, and she just stood there and watched. She wanted to do something, but she never took any action to do anything. And at the end of the movie, Michelle becomes someone who doesn't run from a fight anymore. She stands her ground and she's ready to take on anything. Howard, on the other hand, is trying to limit his badness, I would say, so that Michelle actually wants to be his new surrogate daughter, I don't know. He basically becomes the monster he was trying to suppress because Emmett was there, and if Emmett's there, he can't be as much of a weird, creepy dude. But speaking of Howard, John Goodman's performance as Howard is his best in a movie ever. I love this character. I love to hate this character. The layers that John Goodman puts on this performance, it's like he's a complete real person. It's so fucking weird. What an interesting and complex villain. Gotta love to hate him so much. But I don't know if there's a sexual component to him wanting Michelle to be his daughter. Once he kills Emmett and he cleans that up, he comes in letting her know that dinner's getting ready, and he's clean shaven, he's put together in a nice dress shirt. So I'm really confused if he's trying to woo her into some sort of sexual thing. I don't know if that's the way that scene is supposed to be read, but I feel like that's the way it had to be. Maybe it's easier so the effects can be done, since half of his face is gonna get melted. I don't know if him having facial hair would make that easy to happen or not. But I think it's really just Howard wanting to have another daughter to replace her in a sense because he knows she's probably dead in Chicago right now. And I love that the ARG fleshes out this character so you would know that history about him. We, the audience, know more about him than Michelle does, and that influences how we view this movie. We know he's a bad guy. It kind of seems in the ARG he's trying to do the right thing and like protect his daughter and save her. But in the end, he doesn't, and it's due to his past mistakes. And John Goodman really knows how to control a room. He has a perfect tone with every single word he speaks. And it's very interesting in the one scene where they're playing like a word association game, he can't call Michelle a woman. He only perceives her as a young child, a girl, not like a grown woman who is an individual. He can only just infantilize her, and he can't see her not being his daughter. John Gallagher's Emmett is the other main character in this movie. I like this character a lot. He's our source of humor and heart throughout the movie. He allows Mary Elizabeth Winestead to have some emotional connection with someone. Not in the sense they're gonna get together, but like they understand they have past regrets, and they talk about that in a really sweet scene. Emmett talks about his regrets of not actually going to college on the running scholarship that he had. And Michelle, as I mentioned, talked about her not taking action to help a young girl that she saw was in trouble. His death scene is maybe the best scene of the movie. I love how the camera work shows always two people in frame. You'll see it, this triangle spot. There's a really good video on YouTube. If you go check it out, I'll have that one in the description as well. But like the triangle sense of where the camera is positioned throughout this scene, I really enjoy. And it's so shocking and it's such an effective scare. And I love how the sound goes out because you're now in Michelle's perspective. This super traumatic thing just happened. She's in shock. So like how she's perceiving everything is weird. They're also in this really condensed, closed space. So the loudness of the gunshot is affecting her ears as well. I don't know if there's any depth to his death at all. I don't think it makes sense for his character. I think someone has to die at some point. This is a great way to rise up the tension, and Michelle has to act now. She has to get out of there. Every scene with John Goodman in this movie is tense. You never know what Howard is going to do, what he's thinking, what choices he's going to make. You know he's maybe not a good person, but I like that he's honest and open about him being the reason Michelle was in a crash. Whether or not that was purposeful, we don't know. You do see his car behind her at the gas station, and then you know that he was the one that ran into her. But was it actually him seeing this young woman and then stealing her, and it just so happens to coincide with this batshit crazy stuff happening? Who knows? Maybe it was an accident, and then it's just happy circumstance that he has her in the bunker now. The best part about this movie, though, is this whole ending. The third act is so much fun for me. Howard is a prophet. He is completely right in thinking that it's aliens, and the movie takes itself so seriously throughout the thriller part of the film that when we get to this alien ending, it can be campy, it can be scary, it can be fun, and you've earned the right to have this fun third act. It's a bit cheesy, but it's a final girl sequence. You know, she's running around trying to do things. She finds dead bodies, have to grab things off of those. It's a final girl sequence that's in a sci-fi thriller movie and not a slasher. That's such an interesting thing to do. Here's a negative I have with this movie. The aliens are not as interesting or cool as Clover is in Cloverfield. They're just these like weird, sluggy, worm creatures with legs. It's not that interesting. They don't pose as much of a threat, but the amount of care you have for this character You want her to succeed, so you're still tense throughout the scene. And this third act is so subversive. The movie hints that maybe there's an alien attack, maybe it's just a car driving over, but it focuses on what's going inside the bunker so much that you forget, oh, are there aliens? What was going on outside? Maybe he's lying. Maybe he did something to that woman that goes to the bunker door, or the cows that we saw outside. But the thriller stuff is happening. She escapes. We think she's free. She gets to take the mask off because she sees birds in the air, and then boom, aliens. It works perfectly, and Mary Elizabeth Winestead shines in this third act finale. I love this so much. I love her decision to go towards the fight and help people instead of just driving towards safety. It's very cheesy when she drives up literally to a sign that has the two cities that the radio lady is talking about. But again, the movie has earned this cheesiness from taking itself so seriously for the most part of the runtime. Everything technical about this movie is perfect. The lighting, sound design, production design, the cinematography is gorgeous. I love how they frame the bunker inside and every action that the character takes. The editing is chef's kiss perfection. So good. The right amount of cuts where cuts need to be. The music drops in this movie are great. The I Think We're Alone Now drop is so good. I love 10 Cloverfield Lane so much. It's gonna get a 10 out of 10 for me. This is the epitome of a perfect movie. It surprisingly holds up extremely well considering it came out 10 years ago. It might just be an anthology movie to the original Cloverfield, and the fact that it wasn't made as a Cloverfield movie first, it was called The Cellar, and then J.J. Abrams and people picked it up and they made it a Cloverfield movie. But it's so fucking good, y'all. I love it so much. And that brings us to the end of this review. Thank you so much for watching the 3rd annual Halloween special. I've had so much fun talking about 10 Cloverfield Lane. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. If you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more of my videos, please hit that subscribe button. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!